Hey, it's Joe. I've got another thing I want to talk about today. It's something that I've seen a lot of my students do, and we've been doing it as well, where we go and buy really inexpensive houses in either urban areas or rural areas. There's a ton of rural areas, especially here in Indiana and in states in the Midwest, where you can buy a property for $30,000 or $40,000 that'll rent out for $600 or $700 a month, and that are in pretty good condition. And there's a bunch of them out there, and a bunch of places out there where you can do this. There's also, if you go into the city, and you don't have to be in a war zone. You can be in an area that's a good, solid, blue-collar neighborhood for $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 a month in some of these cities. And you don't have to buy these where you live. You can buy them remotely. Now, one of the things that we've been doing with areas like this, we've been rehabbing and buying properties and flipping them because I've got cash to work with, and I have partners that do the work, and I bring in the cash. But one of the ways that you can do it if you don't have capital is to buy these properties on, let's say, a land contract. And there's a ton of these properties that are free and clear. The owners own them free and clear because they're only worth $30,000. They paid off years ago, or got them taken care of. So they're paid off. They're willing to sell them to you for $30,000 or $50,000 or whatever it is, and then you can figure you can make payments on these properties. So if you have a property that's, say, $50,000, and you know that it makes $750 a month of income, right? Let me just do the calculation on this. So it's $750 a month of income, and let's say you've got $100 in taxes, insurance, and maybe $150 in, if you figure in property management as well. So that means you've got $600 a month of income on that property. You want to make sure that you have cash flow on that property. So let's take out at least $200 for that. So we'll subtract another $200 because I want that money coming to me every month. That means I've got $400 a month that I can pay on that property. So if I take $50,000 and I divide that by 400, I get 125 months divided by 12. That's 10 and a half years, a little less than 10 and a half years that I can pay that property off completely, free and clear, if I do it with a no-interest land contract. And when I present this to the seller, I say, what if I pay it off to you over time? I'll give you $400 a month. You don't have to worry about anything, and I'll pay you off. And we'll do it over the next 10 years. And a lot of the people that we run into, they're older folks, and they say, well, I won't even live to be 10 more years. It says, well, when you pass, we're going to give it to your kids, and they're going to continue to get the payments, until it's paid off. Would something like that be acceptable? And we found that the system works over and over again, especially in these price ranges, because we can pay them off in a pretty short period of time. A $30,000 property, we can pay off in 6 or 7 years. 50, 10 years. 60, 70,000, 12, 15 years, and they're paid off. And every dollar that comes in and goes out to the seller is principal. So if at any particular time the values go up enough and you want to sell that property and just take the equity out of it, you can do that, and you can make a profit because all the money that's going towards is buying down that rent every month. If you were to go out and get a mortgage, and I've talked about this on other videos, don't get mortgages. But if you go out and get a 30-year mortgage, 90% of your payment is going towards other expenses. Only, on $1,000 it's being paid, $100 of it is going towards your principal. So at that rate, it's going to take 30 years to pay that thing off. Now that amount gets bigger and bigger every year until, by the last year, it's a big part of your payment. But in the first 10 years, it's going to be, it's going to take a long time to buy that note down. So if you do it with it's all going towards principal, you're going to be much better off, and you can build a really beautiful portfolio. I've got students who have built portfolios of 50, 100, 200 properties in just a few short years, buying properties like this in rural areas that have cash flow, that they can sell. And by the way, they're not just renting them; they're selling them on lease options. So they'll take $5,000 as a lease option option fee, they'll get the $200 a month cash flow, and then they'll get the $400 a month that goes towards the principal that buys that note down every month. And when that person, if they exercise the option, then you can go ahead and sell it to them for cash because they'll go out and get a new loan. Or if they don't exercise the option, you can go around, turn around and sell it to another lease option buyer and make money doing it that way. And typically you can sell a property for a little bit more than it's worth when you're selling it on terms anyway. So if you bought it for 30, you might want to sell it for 45 or 40. If you bought it for 50, you might want to sell it for 70. And you can still make a profit on those deals. Anyway, those are great properties to have. Hope that helps.